Hi, my name is Sean Egan and I head up product development here in SCANOSS. I originally studied electronic engineering a long time ago. I'm not willing to admit how long ago that was, but I quickly realized that software was my passion, so I quickly moved into the embedded software engineering world, and from there into the early evolution of DevSecOps, what we would call today. From there I got a keen interest in software compliance, and I went away from that for a couple of years, went into product development, architecture, and the opportunity came back up to come back in and apply my product development experience, my architecture design experience into developing a product that I have worked on 20 years ago, so it was very, very interesting. I've had to comply. I've also been the one producing the reports for compliance to do it, so I've had a lot of experience in doing audits during M&A, so I've had to go in and be part of that process. I've also been on the other side, being the one audited and understanding the requirements of what was coming into it. So having an understanding of what an auditor is looking for has helped me from a product development perspective as well. I know what things should be in place and how we should have them in those areas. So when we look at how we want to empower developers, we want to make that so that they can develop systems that enable them, but however we do that through integrity. We have compliance in place. We have the ability to know that what we're developing is secure. We have to know that it's compliant from a license perspective. It helps accelerate the software development lifecycle. Visibility from our perspective means having to have good visibility into both your declared and undeclared software. And without this, you cannot make informed decisions. You cannot look at issues that are preventable and avoidable. And by running through all of those systems, we're able to get a much more accurate view of our software supply, looking at our SBOM and taking action from there. So many teams today focus just on their declared bill of materials, not always looking at the full dependency tree, so not focusing on transitive dependencies, looking on the full stack that goes into their software. Also, with the advent of Gen AI, companies are also not taking into account the undeclared open source. So what open source has been introduced as part of your software development practices itself. And without that, you're not getting good visibility into the whole view of your software stack. Compliance tools historically have focused a lot around compliance, the audit side of the house. SCANOSS is a developer-first tool, so we build ourselves from the ground up using APIs, and we focus on developer experience and not getting in the way, reducing friction, and making it a seamless process in order to accelerate development and not put impediments in place. We achieve that by integrating into the developer environment, so starting or shifting left, making it easy for a developer to get early and good feedback right in the moment when they're doing development. And then by integrating into the CI/CD process, for example, looking at merge and pull request level, identifying where potential issues might be and giving that feedback in the moment so that can be remediated before it makes it to production. Our goal for building tools for developers is to make that experience seamless, to meet them where they are within their environment. So whether that's using pre-commit hooks running on their desktop, to making it integrate really easily into their whole automation process. So there are CI/CD pipelines again, looking at how we give that feedback in the tool that they're working within, and making that easy for them to take action upon. Having lived in this world, I have a lot of empathy for both development and DevSecOps teams. And so when we look at how you want to be able to work in that environment, the last thing we want is this to be an overburdensome process. And therefore we want to keep it as simple as possible. The typical way that we would integrate into a DevSecOps pipeline, the most common way will be around the merge or pull request phase. So a developer is working on a feature. When that feature branch is complete and they're ready to merge that back into main or develop in preparation for integration testing and release, you can integrate SCANOSS either to produce software bill of materials at that point in time and or to apply policy, for example, looking at license compliance, undeclared vulnerabilities, etc. like this. You're giving this feedback nice and easily in the system they're working on. It's part of the CI/CD that is already running, so it's just an extra step. Not only for the fact that it's a compliance requirement for your company, it also helps you make sure that you're using vibrant projects. So making sure that you're using a project that has a good community around it, Looking at the licensing perspective will help you out depending on how you're going to distribute this application in the future. Is it going to be software as a service? Is it going to be packaged up and deployed in an app? Or are you looking to open source this yourself? So looking at all the ways that you want to work on this, you have to take compliance into effect. When you're looking at vulnerabilities, knowing that you have an accurate software bill of materials is going to make you much better at adapting to the vulnerabilities that you find and how you take action upon them. Typically, open source governance in the past has been done by an audit team disconnected from the full development lifecycle. And so it leads to friction at the end of a development process. It's also done very, very late in the cycle. So by integrating CI/CD governance or your open source or software composition analysis into the CI/CD pipeline is bringing that earlier in the life cycle. So if there are issues going to be brought up during a scan, you're getting that information early to the development team. And we all know that detecting issues or problems earlier in the life cycle make it much cheaper and much better to integrate and to resolve right there and then. When you look at automation, it's here to augment and to speed up the process for the engineering team or the audit team that are working on this. So it's not a replace, it's an augment, and to actually provide information that is generally repetitive and difficult to do sometimes, make that information available in a faster way so that the teams can get through this backlog faster. From an engineering perspective, depending on the product you work on, you might choose different parts of the SCANOSS solution that might be appropriate for you. So you might be developing a distributed application, so you really care about license compliance and vulnerabilities, or you might be developing an authentication solution or a new banking app that you're going to run internally, and therefore cryptography is very important to you. And so you take the different parts of SCANOSS, you bake them into your automation, into your developer lifecycle, and apply them where and as needed. Our goal is to build out the product offerings in the areas that make sense for our development and compliance community, to make those as easy to consume as possible, and to give them a lot of action to be able to take from those findings. So our ultimate goal is to make this as easy as possible to integrate in, cost effective, and also help productivity. It's always a challenge. It's never easy. We put the customer first in all of our development, and so when we look at how we want to release features have to pass a certain standard before we are ready to release them. We also take phased approach to deployments, so we have an opt-in policy around customers who want to take experimental features or take early release. And once we know that they are stable, then we make them available for the rest of the community. The vast majority of applications that are developed today are made up of open source, be that through dependency trees, through package managers, declared dependencies, components that you're using. And so the most important thing when you look at that ecosystem today is to know that you are choosing the right components at the right time for the right use case. So very critical for you there is to be able to search for those components, find the component you need, make sure it satisfies the requirements that you need now, and not take in, for example, a large component that you want to use to parse a JSON file, but it also does XML and lots of other formats, where you're increasing the potential for you to have vulnerabilities for a code base that you don't necessarily need access to. The world will be run by open source. It is run by open source, and long may it last.